Well, this summer, we have been working through a summer of Psalms. And the way that we've approached this is we've picked some of our favorite Psalms and tried to just bear them to our lives. And today, I want to go a little bit of a different route. I want to preach on a Psalm that is not that well known. And the Psalm I want to take a look at is Psalm 26. Psalm 25 is very well known. Psalm 27 is also well known, but Psalm 26 is often missed. And over the past couple weeks, I've been meditating on it, and it has been a huge boost to how I pray. So if you could open up there, we're going to look at it. This is the best way to put it, this is a very intimate psalm. David is in his prayer closet, and he is expressing to Jehovah God things on his heart that he wouldn't tell anybody else but God. And he is comparing his perspective on God with the way the world views God, but also how the world probably views him. And he's trying to, the word is vindicate, clear his name in the sight of God. And I want to begin by reading the first 3 verses of Psalm 26, and then we're going to take off from there. So here's what verse 1 says. It says, "Vindicate me, Lord, for I have led a blameless life. I have trusted in the Lord and have not faltered. Test me, Lord, and try me. Examine my heart and my mind, for I have always been mindful of your unfailing love and have lived in reliance on your faithfulness." That's where we're going to begin. But to fully understand this psalm, I had a pastor or teacher in theology class said we often have to do what's called an emotional exegesis on the text. We can take it word by word, but we need to understand what is the context emotionally for the writer in here. And to do that, I want to share with you a small part of my faith journey. So I'm going to ask you to travel back with me to the year 1977. I know it's a long time ago. It will bring some, I hope, some relevance to what's going on. This keeps going in and out. Do you know why, Justin? Is it just, it might be me. Let me see if it's in fully. All right, that's good. I'll try to stand stoic so it won't go in and out. So in 1977, I was 11 years old, and I was what I would just say is a curious about life. I was rather shy, very trusting, and as all 11-year-olds are very naive about life. We don't know much about life. The house I grew up in had a very unique design. In the back of the house, there was this garage with a flat roof. On that flat roof, we built a screened-in porch, and we left a nice area open for my mom and sisters to have a private space to basically suntan in the summer. That was the whole point of it. My sister Gina would always lug out her stereo system to play her albums. Do you guys know what albums are? Have you heard of albums? Actually, they're making a comeback. They're vinyl records that are, they look like Frisbees, if you don't know what that is. She would love to buy the most popular records of the day, and she would play them over and over again. And my window to my bedroom was pretty close to the porch, so I got to hear all of those songs. And I have the kind of mind, it's kind of weird, I remember lyrics. Most of us kind of do, but I remember almost every one. And if it's played too much, it's like in my brain. Well, the album that I want to talk about that she bought one year in 1977 was this album. It's called The Stranger by Billy Joel. It was, truthfully, one of the hottest albums ever sold. At the time, in 1 year, it sold 10 million copies, and it's quite an amazing album. If you know Billy Joel, he sang the song Piano Man, but in this album, he has probably 4 or 5 top hits. Songs like Scene from an Italian Restaurant, She's Always a Woman to Me, I Love You Just the Way You Are. And if you know Billy Joel, this is a big album. I mean big, but there's one song I want to talk about, and I want you really to track with me on this, stick with me. And the song is called Only the Good Die Young. Here's the reason why I'm picking this out. This song was about an attractive Roman Catholic girl, probably around the age 15 or 16, named Virginia. The singer of the song, Billy Joel, was infatuated with her, and there's some question, was this a memory of when he was 16, or was it he wrote it at the age of 28? Was this a creepy old man crushing on a 16-year-old girl? It was highly controversial. Some radio stations wouldn't play this song. Not only that, it's him expressing his desire to have Virginia leave her religious faith. Her mother was very religious. She was just getting confirmed, and run with him. Sleep with him, basically, is what the song's about. According to the title, Billy is mocking the idea of being pure for God, being good. How did it switch already? How did that switch? Was that my fault? I am having a lot of technical I am sorry. I try to lead up with it where the slide will go, whoa, now you know, it's too bad. Man, I failed. But getting back to this song, so Only the Good Die Young, the idea of good is that if you're good, you're just wasting your life. Here you're young, you're beautiful, and you want to live for God? That's like dying. You're wasting your life. Now, mind you, I was 11 years old, and I was a Roman Catholic who wanted, I really did, I wanted to live for God, and so this song troubled me. And look at the lyrics. You probably already saw them, but look at the lyrics. Begins by saying, and they say there's a heaven. Who are they? Well, your Catholic mom. The priest says that. The pastor says that. They say there's a heaven for those who wait. What does that mean? For those who live a good life, who aren't sinning. There's a heaven waiting for you. And then, but Billy Joel says, some say it's better in heaven. I say it ain't. I say it ain't. Then he says, I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints. Why? Because you know, the sinners are much more fun. And so in a diabolical and sinister way, Billy Joel, who at the time is persuasive, cool, talented, and very popular, had me, as an 11-year-old boy, questioning my desire to be good. Was he right? Am I missing out on life for wanting to be good? And so this was, right here, best way to put it is my first real taste of Satan's false dichotomy. It's a false dichotomy. A false dichotomy is called a logical fallacy that's intent is to manipulate the listener. He gives you two extremes, and you can only choose between those options. But reality is there's a lot more options than those two. But a false dichotomy has you believing, oh no, which one do I choose? The clever speaker, in this case Billy Joel, and I'm going to argue Satan, wants you to join their side of the argument. And the way they do it is they present their side as reasonable and wise and fun. Where the other side, oh, you're an idiot to pick that side. And as an 11-year-old boy, very naive, you do not stand a chance against Satan's false dichotomy. Let me kind of work it out and show you how it works. So one line, he says, would you rather laugh with the sinners? So option one is joining Team Progress. And I'm calling it Team Progress because it's asking you to join with the cool, the sophisticated, the intelligent, the free thinkers. And it's summed up perfectly by saying, didn't you know sinners have much more fun? This group always seems to be a bit more with it, more stylish, more fashionable. They're always on the right side of history, as they say. And so that's why I call this Team Progress. That's option one. Option two is, should say it like this, Team Religious. Or would you rather cry with the saints? You can join the dull, suppressed, repressed, and timid thinking group if you want, or you can have option one. Which one would you like? And so Team Religious always has this feeling that they're the fuddy-duddies, the goody-goodies, the prigs, the prisses, the uptight, or you could say hypocritically upright. Which side do you want to be on? Of course, it's intended to say, man, I want Team One every time. And I am telling you, this false dichotomy is broadcasted everywhere, every day, in every era, in every town, and it influences every single human heart. Started the garden. Oh, Eve. I like to use a British accent. Eve, look at that fruit. It looks delicious. Don't you want to live forever? Huh? Don't you want to be like God? Don't you want to have your cake and eat it too? Come on, Eve, eat. Billy Joel says it like this. Come on, Virginia. Come on, Virginia. Don't you know only the good die young? Come on, Virginia. He keeps singing that. And I would say the most blatant argument was in the 80s when the Grateful Dead said it like this. I may be going to hell in a bucket, but at least I'm enjoying the ride. That's the logical fallacy. One option offers a life of fun, freedom, and fullness. The other, boredom, dullness, and slavery. Whose side are you on? Now, this is where Psalm 26 enters. And in this psalm, we find a third option. I'm going to call it, this is the heart cry of the holy. I'm going to call it Team Holy. You'll learn a little bit more about that in a second. David was the man who wrote this psalm, and he is known as a man after God's own heart. He wants God. He's holy. And you cannot tell me David was a boring person. If you read David's life, man, he was never dull, never a bore. He was a powerful warrior. He was a singer. He was a man who had a life that was on fire. Like, people loved to be around David. They loved him. And in this psalm, we're going to hear his heart cry, what he really thinks in the presence of God. The occasion for this psalm, like why was this psalm written? There's two real reasons for this. Number one is David is being attacked for his goodness by all of his enemies. For 14 years, he's in constant hounding from King Saul. He was hounded by his son Absalom. The pagan nations around him wanted him dead. And so David really lived a life of defense. Look at Psalm 25 a second, the psalm right before. Scholars say it's connected to Psalm 26. But if you look at verse 19, he even is saying, see how numerous are my enemies and how fiercely they hate me. Now, in Psalm 26, verse 1, he says, because of this, God, will you vindicate me? Will you protect me and clear my name? Will you have my back? That's what vindicate means. These enemies are probably jealous of David, because when a man is really blessed by God, he prospers, and people get jealous of that. And they're probably saying, David, who do you think you are? Oh, high and mighty David, you're no different than us. You're just like us. And David, in response to all of these taunts and probably this slander, is asking God, God, will you clear my name? That's what vindicate means. Second occasion is really he's distancing himself from corrupt people in the eyes of God. In a personal way, David truly wants God. He wants to know God. He's not part of the wicked. He's not. He's not on Team Progress. He's not on Team Religious. He's on Team Holy. Look what he says in the middle of verse 1. I've led a blameless life. I've trusted in the Lord. This is the same thing in verse 11. I lead a blameless life. So he's distancing himself. Even though he has sinned, and he admits it in Psalm 25 a lot. Verse 11, look what he says in verse 11, Psalm 25. In you, Lord, I put my trust. I trust in you because of verse 18, take away all my sins. So you could say, even though he's a sinner, he doesn't see himself as a sinner. He doesn't enjoy hanging with sinners. Even though he admits his iniquity is great, his heart desires integrity, not iniquity. And even those around him see him as no different. He wants God to know, I am different. He's on Team Holy. Watch how he talks about Team Holy. And how do you know if you're on Team Holy? There's two things that David says really characterizes him. And he's making an appeal to God to defend him based on these two characteristics. The first is this, is he's placed his trust in God. He is not appealing to God based on his accomplishments, his goodness. He's appealing to God based on God's character. Look at verse 1 again. I've trusted in the Lord and have not faltered. Verse 3, I've always been mindful of your unfailing love and have lived in reliance on your faithfulness. Reliance means trust on God's faithfulness. Faithfulness means when God gives a promise, I trust him. So you could say this, if you're on Team Holy, your qualification to make this team is not based on righteousness, how much you've done, how good you are. It's based on your trust in the character of God. That's why Romans 5:1 says, therefore, being justified by faith, that means trusting God's promises, we have peace with God. It's trust, it's faith. And basically what David is saying is, I'm throwing myself at your feet, God. All I have is you. And honestly, all I want is you. And when he says in verse 1 he lives a blameless life, like see how he says, I've led a blameless life, he is mainly talking about his desire to walk in integrity, not hypocrisy. He's going to show how he's not like the hypocrites. What's a hypocrite? A mask wearer, a poser, a person who's different on the outside than he really is on the inside. One commentator says, come on, is David being presumptuous, narcissistic? Is he an elitist, think he's just better? No, David wants to be blameless. He wants to lead, which means walk in a blameless life. Verse 11 again, I lead a blameless life. I want to walk a blameless life. He wants to do, you could say it, he gets to do the will of God. I get to. I'm compelled to, not I have to. You could say it like this, he's not playing games like the hypocrites around him. He's not a game player. He really believes this. And so what the psalm is doing is it's going to show you how the heart cries out to God when you really are holy. What is the heart cry of the holy? If I really am on Team Holy and I'm with God, what really do I say? Why does he want to be vindicated? And how does he want to be vindicated? Because I'll tell you, if you're really on Team Holy, there's in you a desire to prove your genuineness. You really want to be seen as the real article. And that's why verse 2, David says, test me. Test me. God, test me. Try me. See if there's any iniquity in me. Check it out. I am not lying. A person who really belongs to God has no problem letting him examine their heart. He wants God to look deep inside his soul, to refine him, because he knows that God is good. That word right there where it says in verse 3, I've always been mindful of your unfailing love, that's hesed. That's a Hebrew word for he's kind. He's kind. He's kind. Over the years, I've written a few books. I'm not the best writer, but before I send my book to be published, there's a few people I trust enough to read my initial writings, my ramblings, to edit them, and to tell me the truth if it's any good. And it's hard to find somebody that you really trust to show you your work, because what if they say, Chris, you stink. You're terrible. You want to get this published? It's like, I don't want somebody to peer into my soul and criticize me. But there's some people that will, out of kindness and honesty and love, tell you the truth. I'll tell you what, it's even harder having the Almighty peer into your soul and to make you holy. That's hard. But not for David. David, a man who's on Team Holy, trusts God. He trusts him. He knows he's gentle. He knows he's loving. And that's how you can tell if a person really believes in God. He trusts him. Because really the major crowd, the majority of people in this world hide from God. They hide. They don't trust Him. Especially those on Team Progress and Team Religious. You might say, Team Religious? They hide from God, especially people on Team Religious. That's all really religion is. Religion is a way of looking good on the outside so I can go home and be me on the inside. Actually, Team Religious people, what you really don't know about them, they're jealous of people on Team Progress. They really wish they had the guts to live like that. But Team Holy, they really like to be holy. Like they do. When you let God examine your heart, two things will be exposed immediately. Things you hate and things you love. You can't hide it. It just comes out. In this passage, David is very clear about what he hates, verse 4 and 5. Look at verse 4 and 5. He says, I do not sit with the deceitful, those are liars, nor do I associate with hypocrites, those are posers. I abhor. You know what abhor means? Have you ever been, has your parents ever given you liver and onions for dinner? That's what abhor means. I abhor. What does David abhor? Here's what he abhors. The assembly of evildoers and refuse to sit with the wicked. Those people that go to church on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday, they don't live like they go to church. The company of liars, deceivers, hypocrites, and those who pose as holy but they are not, is what David hates. He doesn't want to have any part of them. You can't really tell people that in public, but you can when you're with God. He knows. He knows. And he's just telling God, God, I don't want to have anything to do with them. And so really the list that David's including includes the whole spectrum of deceit. From the wishy-washy Sunday-only believer, those who act like they belong to the community of God, to the out-and-out rebel who could care less about the community of God. He's talking about all of them. From nice guys, it's kind of funny, I think our culture, how do you know if a man is really godly? Well, they're nice. No, that's not necessarily true. From nice guys to creeps, and David wants to be distanced from. I'm not part of any of that. I don't play this game. That's what he's saying. So what does David love? David loves what he says in 6 through 8. It's very clear. Listen to what he says. I wash my hands in innocence. I'm trying to be good, trying to lead a blameless life. That's what that means. And I go about your altar, Lord, proclaiming aloud your praise and telling all your wonderful deeds. Telling who? People. I like people. I like talking to people and praising God with people. And in verse 8, Lord, I love the house where you live, the place where your glory dwells. I really do. I love it. I love the community of saints. That's what he's saying. I don't cry with them. I sing with them. Like it's exciting to be with them. So you can say, what does David love? He loves to praise God with the people of God. He wants to be about God's business. He's all in participating with Team Holy. Rarely will you hear a person on Team Holy complain about having to give to the church or go to the church. They love being at the church and meeting new people. It won't be a hassle to teach Sunday school for them. They're quick to help their neighbors who are low on cash. They will jump to help someone who has trouble with their car. Rarely will you hear them say, leave me alone and let me be. Rarely will you hear Team Holy make everything about politics because they know God's got it. And rarely will you have to convince Team Holy that reading this book is like dining at a fine restaurant because they already love it. I'll go to my A slide a second. Let me just ask you a question. Because, as one person said, you can write the laws of a nation. Let me write the songs. Because, in a way, the songs capture the heart. Which song, which lyrics resonate with you? Here's the first lyric. You might have heard I run with a dangerous crowd. We ain't too pretty. We ain't too proud. We might be laughing a bit too loud. But that never hurt no one. That's still on that same Billy Joel song. But I'll tell you what, that set of lyrics is a perfect set of lyrics for people on Team Progress. Here's what they're saying. We never do that much wrong. We're not that bad. We're just having fun. We're just sowing our oats. Who cares? We got plenty of time to follow God when we get a bit older. We're just having fun. Well, where does God fit in your life? Well, I'm at church on Sunday, aren't I? No. I'm asking, do you allow God with you at the campsite on a Saturday and Friday night? Is he allowed there? Question for you, do you allow God to go to the bar with you on Friday? And is God in your thoughts on a Tuesday afternoon? Second set of lyrics is from a song by Steve Camp in the 80s. He was kind of getting tired of how Christian bands were becoming a little bit worldly, and he wrote this song called Living Dangerously. And the lyrics go like this. Let me live like I believe it. Like just that lyric. Though my faith is prone to fail, though I cower under trial, by his grace I shall prevail. He's basically saying, I want my outside behavior to be equal to my inside love. I want to walk in integrity. I really, really do. Some of you may be asking about Team Religious. What are the lyrics for Team Religious? Where are their lyrics? Well, you should know people on Team Religious really don't like to sing because they're miserable people. So they don't sing too often. They really believe God owes them for the fine acting job they've been doing most of their life. But deep down, so this brings up the second thing that the heart will naturally cry on from Team Holy. We can find it 9 through 11. Listen close. It's very clear. Do not take away my soul along with sinners, my life with those who are bloodthirsty and whose hands are wicked schemes, whose right hands are full of bribes. I lead a blameless life. Deliver me. So what's the heart cry of Team Holy? The first is test me, God. The second is this, protect me. Protect me. God, I'm on your team. Don't let me fail. Or another way to say this, God, please, don't lump me in with the rest of the world. Don't judge me for their actions. Don't let me be put to shame. I really think this is why Jesus in one side came. He came not only to call the sinners, but he also came to encourage those on Team Holy, to say, I'm with you. I want you to go to Matthew 6. This is probably one of the most well-known messages Jesus gives because it resonates so much with people on Team Holy. That's why I think it's so popular. But Matthew is the first book in the New Testament. Jesus is speaking, and I want you to begin on verse 24 because really he's talking about teams. Which team are you on? And verse 24 of Matthew 6 says this. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and you'll love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God, that's Team Holy. You can't serve both Team Holy and money, Team Progress, mammon, or the ways of the world. And I'd even throw Team Religion in with Team Progress because really it comes from the same heart of wanting to be independent on their own. So he's saying, which team are you on? And then he's actually responding to those who say, well, I'm on Team Holy. And he's going to now, from 25 to the end of the chapter, say, if you are on Team Holy, don't worry. Don't worry. Look at verse 25. Therefore, I tell you, don't worry about your life. Look at verse 28. And why do you worry? Don't worry. Look at verse 31. He says, so don't worry. Don't worry about what you're going to eat or drink. Don't worry. Why not? Because of verse 33. Because all these things will be given to you. I'll take care of you. I'll protect you. I'll protect you. If you're on Team Holy, God says, I got you. And then he ends in verse 34, therefore, don't worry. 4 times, he is exhorting people on Team Holy, don't worry, because he heard their prayer. When you're on Team Holy, God has you. That goes back to verse 20, Psalm 26:12. Look at this. Actually, let's start on 11. It's exactly what David's asking for in verse 11. He says, I lead a blameless life. Deliver me. That's where we get protect me. Snatch me out from ruin is what deliver me means. Don't let me be ruined like all the rest of those hypocrites. And then he says this. This is a cool phrase. And be merciful to me. I was doing some research and they said in the Hebrew, here's what it literally means. Grace me. Grace me, God. Grace me. Grace me. Take care of me. Pour out your love on me. Lavish your mercy. Just grace me. I know, God, I don't deserve it, but I'm on your team. I'm on your team. That's what that means. And it seems like when you get to verse 12, he's let all of his angst go out. He leaves it there, and he ends by saying, you know what? After I've been with God, I know this. Because I'm on Team Holy, my feet stand on level ground. Level ground. The idea is I'm not going to all of a sudden fall. I'm not going to perish. I'm standing on the rock. Psalm 73, if you're wondering why this phrase is important, because Psalm 73, you have a guy who's on Team Holy, and he's watching people on Team Progress who seem like, man, they are successful. They got it all made. And he says, don't worry about them. And the reason why, according to Psalm 73, 18 to 20, is because God places those on Team Progress on slippery ground. According to verse 12, my feet stand on solid ground. But Team Progress is on slippery ground. You cast them down to ruin. How suddenly they will be destroyed. They'll be completely swept away by terrors. They are like a dream when one awakes. When you arise, O Lord, you will despise them as fantasies. Actually, in between services, somebody came up to me and said, wasn't it a weird week how many people died? And I remembered one person who died I was scared to death of when I was 11. Ozzy Osbourne. He'd bite the head off of bats, like a bat out of hell. People would say, he's just dangerous. He knew Aleister Crowley, and oh, he was so scary. And all his music's gonna destroy this world. In the last 5 years, he's been a bumbling idiot. Now he's dead, and now he's in the presence of God. How do you think he's doing? Like, seriously. Do you think he can really stand up to the fury of God? I'm terrified for him. If you are on Team Holy, God has you. I was reading a little this week about Malcolm Muggeridge. He worked for like the BBC, and he was on Team Progress his whole life. He was kind of sophisticated, very smart, and then he got saved. And man, his life completely switched around. He said this, I can say that I never knew what joy was like until I gave up pursuing happiness. And a lot of people think pursuing happiness is the way to go. I want to bring you back to 1977 one more time. As I mentioned earlier, I was 11-year-old Roman Catholic at the time, when Billy Joel was Roman Catholic as well. And I was going to school up the street. I went to the school called St. Raphael's, and I just did like a Google search on it. It was a 13-minute walk. So I'd walk 13 minutes with my sisters to school every day and walk home. Every week in 6th grade, at the time I was in 6th grade, every week we would have chapel with Father Callahan. Father Callahan was, believe it or not, was his name, Irish Catholic priest. I didn't make that name up. His name was Father Callahan. And he would teach us to get ready for confirmation that was coming the next year. So he'd teach us, but he was kind of old and senile, so his messages weren't the best, honestly. And I can remember one chapel in particular. This is in our church, and there's a huge, giant cathedral ceilings. On the back by the altar was a big crucifix, about 25 feet tall, and there's a wooden carving of Jesus hanging. It was actually pretty cool. It's really pretty impressive. But we're in that church, and the boys are throwing scraps of papers at the girl, passing notes, snickering, and even mocking Father Callahan as he was teaching. And they had zero regard for being in the house of God, like zero. These are some bad kids. I had some bad kids in my class. Right after that chapel, Sister Ardith Blake, and that was the name of her too, she was our principal. She took our class aside and started screaming at all the boys and saying, "You're never going to do that again." And I'll tell you, as I was listening, something inside of me as an 11-year-old boy, I wanted to clear myself because I wasn't a part of that. But I was grouped in. I wasn't a part of that. And so on my way home, my sisters and I are walking back. I told them to go ahead of me, and I snuck back into church. Nobody is in there. I knelt down, and I'll tell you what, I prayed a very genuine prayer to God. And I said, "God, I wasn't part of that. I really wasn't. I really want to know you." And at that time, I wasn't saved like I am now. But I really did. I did want to be good. I did. And I wanted God to know. I knew I didn't agree with Billy Joel. I wanted to be honest before God. And as I look back on that, I think God honored that small spark of faith in my life. I think I'm kind of here to some degree because I still have that 11-year-old boy in me that I just want to know God. I do. I really, really do. And there's something about people in Team Holy, there's a innocence to them. They really don't want to play the game. They got nothing to prove. I'd say it like this. People on Team Holy are not looking for an escape from church. They're not looking for an escape from witnessing or ministering to others. They really like the people of God. I'd say people who are on Team Holy are not trying to find life in the next wild experience. They have to travel around the world and get a selfie at every major city in the world. That will complete my life. People on Team Holy don't need that. They don't need the expensive purchase to make their life meaningful. People on Team Holy are not needing the approval of the crowd, nor the acceptance by Team Progress. They simply want God. So the question is, which team are you on?